Square Enix is a company that I really do love, usually. However, they are absolutely no stranger to making bad decisions. If you haven't heard the news, Square Enix has come under a lot of fire over the past week, and I'm going to be honest, they kind of deserve it. The CEO of Square Enix has decided they will be following one of the most controversial industry trends in incorporating NFTs into future games. Now, there are many of you who don't know what an NFT is, and explaining that is well beyond the scope of this one video, but essentially it stands for non-fungible token. There are generally two types of items, fungible and non-fungible. Let's suppose you were to buy a PlayStation console. Sony will make millions of PS5s over their lifetime, allegedly, which for the most part will be the exact same. This is a fungible item. However, if you were to take the Mona Lisa, there is only a single version of this painting, and thus it would be considered a non-fungible item. Its inherent uniqueness gives it more value, as only one of them exists in the world. And an NFT, simply put, is a digital way of creating supposedly unique digital items by creating artificial scarcity. It's also the absolute best way to scam someone out of millions of dollars for a PNG. As if scamming people for PNGs through gacha mechanics wasn't enough for these companies. To make matters worse, the CEO's message was something that one might call out of touch. With him saying on the matter, quote, "I realize that some people who play to have fun, play to have fun? Don't most human beings play to have fun? I can only assume from this first sentence that this is aimed at Mark Zuckerberg's lizard people, but let's continue. Have voiced their reservations toward these new trends, and understandably so. However, I believe there will be a certain number of people whose motivation is play to contribute, by which I mean to help make the game more exciting. Traditional gaming has offered no explicit incentive to this latter group of people, who are motivated strictly by such inconsistent personal feelings as goodwill and volunteer spirit." And it's not just the CEO who's co-signed this idea. It's also Final Fantasy VII Remake producer Yoshinori Kitase, who has also expressed interest in the future of NFT games. Though giving Kitase benefit of the doubt, it's unclear if he said this of his own volition, or it's something he has to go along with as it's part of what the CEO has laid out. The idea with these NFT games, and to quote the CEO, is play to earn. That by playing these games, the items you are collecting are worth real-world money. As someone who quite clearly makes a living playing video games, I'm definitely not against the idea of someone making money from doing it, and definitely think it's the way of the future. And there are many great ways to do that, from streaming to making videos or competing in esports. And it's such a sought-after idea that most youth in the Western world cite YouTube as the job they want most when they grow up. But the idea of creating and owning unique NFT items turns games into yet another grind set, in a world of people who are already overworked and in many cases underpaid. Though an easy counterpoint might be that you could potentially enjoy these games and make money on them, if you were to look further into these games, the primary marketing message on them is clear. They want to sell you on the idea of earning money through playing the games. The great fan creations over the years have come from people passionate about playing the game and creating that content for other people who are also passionate about the game. And yes, it would be awesome if somehow these fan creators were able to get paid for their creations. The problem with these games is that it reduces the environments to people playing a game to sell content and make money, to other people who are also trying to make money and sell content, turning playing games into yet another job. As I currently see things, I can only define this with the one word that I know how to define it with, and that is unfortunately predatory. And it's just absolutely not a road that I want to see Square Enix go down. And Square in particular feels incredibly hypocritical for this. For starters, NFTs use massive amounts of energy and have been universally panned for how bad they are for the environment. And it's like, aren't you literally making a game about a corporation who siphoned energy from the planet, ultimately polluting it, all for the sake of even greater profit? Does this not sound familiar to you? But it's not just Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy XIV also struggled to create new servers amidst the game's population boom due to the silicone shortage, a shortage in which in large part was due to the gold rush happening in the crypto and NFT space. In Square Enix's case, this is like investing in bear traps while simultaneously sticking your foot in one. And even if you try to separate the targeted demographics, it invariably invalidates consumers gamers who, as you so gently put it, Square, play for fun. What happens when these sorts of games become bigger moneymakers than the ones that human beings who like to enjoy things play? You get the same situation that you had with Konami, where making products for enjoyment no longer makes business sense in a world of dopamine loops and false promises of wealth. Now there's the elephant in the room. Will these affect highly anticipated and existing games that we love like Final Fantasy XIV, 16, and Final Fantasy VII Remake 2? It's extremely doubtful, as the CEO does seem to make the distinction between these sorts of games that people play for fun and the latter. It's more likely that these will be separate games that are built around the concept. Well, for now at least. Just as gacha monetization slowly wormed its way into AAA titles, eventually so too will this if it's proven a successful concept. But I absolutely and completely believe this has no place in gaming. But with all of that said, Ultima, I want to hear your thoughts. Subscribe, click the bell icon, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Shout out to patron Red War and the rest of the Ultima community.